Hey, what's going on, everybody? It is yours truly, TJ Jones. Welcome to another edition of the State of the Saints podcast where we talk New Orleans Saints. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for taking your Saturday night and spending it with yours truly. First off, I want to give a special shout out to everybody that subscribed to the YouTube channel. If you have not already, please subscribe to the YouTube channel. If this is your first time checking out the State of the Saints podcast, thank you very much. I really do appreciate it, and hopefully it won't be your last. I'll just tell you, just like I say every single time I do a podcast, I'm just a Saints fan at the end of the day. I'm very passionate about the New Orleans Saints, and hopefully, you'll stay looking at some of the podcast videos and also the content that I put out. But I felt like I needed to go live tonight. Normally, the day before the game, you usually get some audio from me, no live videos or anything like that. But we got some huge news we need to talk about. About an hour ago, quarterback Drew Brees went to Instagram and posted 3 videos of him throwing a football, and everybody's been going crazy about it, man. It's pretty evident that Drew Brees is ahead of schedule. I mean, according to sources, they said that Drew Brees is going to be out for about 6 weeks, but we all know the passion and the love for the game that Drew Brees has, and Drew Brees is always trying to prove the naysayers wrong, and he's done it at the beginning of his career with the New Orleans Saints when people thought he was damn as good because he tore his rotator cuff, and I mean it was to a point where he couldn't even put his arm down. And now look at him, man. He's the all-time leading passer. So Drew Brees kind of makes it his thing to prove all the naysayers wrong. Now, this was a video of him throwing a Nerf football, not an actual NFL regulated football. So all the doctors out there that's a part of Ochsner Hospital and all those, Jefferson General Hospital, all of those aficionados out there that's telling Drew Brees to take it easy. He is taking it easy. He's taking it very easy. He's just taking it very slowly. And of course, I fail to believe that Drew Brees would be around here throwing around a football if he didn't get the okay from his doctors. What you see right now is a guy who is just driven to get back with his team. You can tell by some of the interviews that Drew Brees put out. You can tell that it's hurting him not to be with his squad, man. It's hurting him. Like I seen like an interview with him with Cox Sports Television. He had a sit down interview that was probably about 7 minutes, and just the thought of him not being with his squad when the question was asked, you can tell like Drew Brees is one of those people that kind of wears emotions on his sleeve. So he's one of those guys that says the right things, but every now and then, if you ask him a question, you can look on his face, you can tell, if it affects them or not. And just the fact that him not being with his squad, not being with his team, you can tell like it was frustrating him. So the videos are out on the State of the Saints podcast Facebook page, so you can check that out. Of course, I can't upload them to YouTube because of copyright issues. I don't want to deal with that, but Facebook.com search the State of the Saints podcast. You can check it out. Not videos aren't long. Like I said, it's 3 videos. One is 5 seconds, the other one is seven, and the other one is out. But uh, let's go ahead and talk a little bit about this Week 5 matchup. The New Orleans Saints got another home game. They will be taking on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and I must say, I'm very shocked at some of the content and some of the back and forth between New Orleans Saints and Tampa Bay Buccaneers fans. First off, I'm gonna just be 100% honest with you. Y'all know how I am. I keep it 100 over here on the State of the Saints podcast. No sugarcoating over here. None of that going down. All right. I'm one of those people. I tell you exactly how I feel. All right. I never seen these many Tampa Bay Buccaneers coming at New Orleans Saints fans in my life. Okay, I've been watching the Tampa Bay Buccaneers for a long time. I'm talking about dating back to man, Steve the Bird back in them days, man. You know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, Vinny Testaverde. I mean, I've been watching the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, New Orleans Saints rivalry for a long time. I've never seen some of the fans acting as greasy as they've been this week leading up to this game that's week 5. Now, I can understand the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I mean, years of stinking it up, years of being in the cellar of the NFC South. Now it just seems like they got a quarterback who seems like the light is coming on for him. They got a defense where they got a pass rush led by Shaq Barrett and Ndamukong Suh. You got some good wide receivers and Chris Godwin and Mike Evans and OJ Howard at the tight end position. I mean, you got running back by committee right now. I mean, nobody to hoop and holler about, but it just seems to me like all of a sudden the Tampa Bay Buccaneers beat the NFC champion Los Angeles Rams. Now all of a sudden they want to sit up here and talk all greasy, like all of a sudden like this makes them like just the prohibitive favorites of the NFC South or something like that. All I gotta say to Tampa Bay, man, slow your roll. All right. Slow your roll. All right. Slow your roll. That's all I gotta say. I mean, I understand you're excited. I understand like your team is in a position that it hasn't been in a long time, and that's the possibility of leading the NFC South with a win over the New Orleans Saints this weekend or on Sunday. But man, y'all still got some work to do. I mean, I don't even feel right going at it with a Tampa Bay Buccaneers fan. I really don't. I mean, honestly, I don't have the time. I mean, they be trying to, get me to go back and forth with them, but I just can't, man. It's like you going at it with your little brother, and your little brother is like 9, 10 years younger than you. You know what I'm saying? Like you see him up there trying to jump at you and try to push you, like you can't even take this guy serious. Like, man, go sit your little self down. That's the way I look at it with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, man. They have done absolutely nothing for them to kind of get me all amped up. Now, if this was the Atlanta Falcons, I can kind of understand because the Atlanta Falcons and the Saints, I mean, they, be jockeying for position every single year. Carolina Panthers, I can understand that too. They're just as good as the New Orleans Saints have been over the past couple of years. But the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, man, please. Okay. I don't care. Honestly, I don't care if they do beat the Saints on Sunday. I mean, still, they wouldn't get absolutely no respect from me because the fact of the matter is they done absolutely nothing. I mean, what has the Tampa Bay Buccaneers actually showed us? They shown us that they can actually lose coach after coach. They showed us that they're inconsistent when it comes to the quarterback position. They're inconsistent when it comes to the defense. They're inconsistent when it comes to the front office. Their front office has an inability to actually pay some of these top players that they've been getting. And they've been failures for all these years, man. 5-11, 5-11, 5-11. Eventually, if your team sucked long enough and you get some first round draft picks and you picking in the top 10 every single year, eventually those guys are going to kind of work in your favor. But I mean, I just can't get down with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, man. I just can't. I just can't get down with it. Like it ain't even funny. Like when I see a Tampa Bay Buccaneers fan coming at me, I just can't get down with it, man. I can't. Like I want to be like one of those fans that understand the rivalries, but when it comes to Tampa Bay Buccaneers, I mean, it's like I don't know, man. It's like I don't know, LSU going at it with a Pee Wee Pop Warner football team to me. But let's go ahead and talk about Week 5. Okay, let's go ahead and talk about this Week 5 game. Um, Tampa Bay Buccaneers, I mean, they scored over 50 points last week against the Los Angeles. A lot of turnovers. Jameis Winston, I think he was MSC Player of the Month or something like that, Offensive Player of the Month. I mean, Mike Evans been out there beasting for the last couple games. Shaq Barrett, I mean, he's leading the NFL in sacks. I think he got like 9 sacks in the last 4 weeks. You got Ndamukong Suh, I mean, he's in the interior. And then you got some okay secondary players, linebackers, Levante David and crew. They coming into the Superdome. I'm pretty sure they want to make a statement, man. They want to let everybody know that the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are for real. But, you know, I understand that Teddy Bridgewater is in his third start with the New Orleans Saints. I understand that last week they didn't get into the end zone. I understand they still won that game though. Okay, I understand that the defense was playing at one of the highest levels I've seen in a very long time. And I say this, I think that the Saints, they are very they'll move more by motivation, and this I take you back to week 1 of last season. This is when I started the State of the Saints podcast because of this game. It was the week one matchup, the New Orleans Saints taking on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and everybody thought that the New Orleans Saints were just gonna spank the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, but the Bucs end up upsetting the Saints in the Superdome in week one. And I think that that actually is something that those players remember. I mean, we understand about the Cowboy game. Everybody was saying that the Cowboys, took the Saints and exposed them in Week 13 of last year. But I feel like the Saints wanted to make a statement against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and I think that Teddy Bridgewater is going to do enough. I feel like Alvin Kamara is going to do enough. I heard that the Tampa Bay Buccaneers was ranked number one against the run in the NFL. But I mean, to me, that's a little bit of smoke and mirrors because if teams are passing the ball more than they're actually running the ball, that can speak volumes as well. I mean, I'm pretty sure you'll be leading the league, against the run if teams aren't really running a football on you that much. If they're just passing the ball all over the place, probably because you end up having a lead. If you think about the last couple games, right, that they played against the Rams, they played against the Giants, okay? They had an 18-point lead against the Giants, and the Giants had to throw the ball in order for them to come back into the game. So if they're throwing the ball more than they're actually running the ball, that's actually working in their favor. I mean, you can look at the numbers all you want to, but if teams are throwing the ball trying to get back into the game, they're not going to be running the football as much. So I feel like that is one of those stats that there's a little bit of smoke and mirrors. Who do I think is going to win this game? I got the New Orleans Saints winning this game. I got the Saints winning this game because the Saints are a better football team. I feel like the Los Angeles Rams underestimated the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I think they were looking forward to that Thursday night game that ended up being a really great game. I think they were looking past the Tampa Bay Buccaneers due to the fact that the Buccaneers lost at home to a Daniel Jones New York Giant team without Saquon Barkley. So I'm pretty sure they were like, oh man, shoot, they lost to them Giants. Giants aren't even that good, So I think they kind of just look past them, say we're gonna put this game plan together, we're gonna do this, blase, blase, and then we're gonna get out of here with this win. So they didn't really take them serious, man. I think the Saints are going to give the Tampa Bay Buccaneers all the attention that they want. And then we're gonna realize, man, that the New Orleans Saints are just a better football team than the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Who here's a team in the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, in my opinion, don't know how to close games. They haven't, they gave up the 18-point lead to the New York Football Giants. And in my opinion, they almost gave up their lead against the Los Angeles Rams. And I just don't feel like, as much as they've been throwing the ball and as efficient as their offense has been and as many points as they've been putting up, they still a young team and they still have to learn how to close games. And I don't feel like they're going to do it in this case. I feel like the Saints are going to give them all that they ask for. I feel like Alvin Kamara is going to run wild on them. I feel like Teddy Bridgewater is going to do enough. He's going to get that ball down the field. We might even see some Jared Cook action going. I think the Saints are going to get back to getting pressure on Jameis Winston. Last week the Saints went up against one of the best offensive lines in all of football, and they still was getting pressure on Dak Prescott. Yeah, they didn't get a whole bunch of sacks, but what they did was, they hurried the ball and made sure the ball got out of his hands. And I feel like the Tampa Bay Buccaneers offensive line is nowhere near Dallas Cowboys, and the Saints were getting the job done. So I feel like the New Orleans Saints are going to win this football game. I feel like this is a revenge game. I'm pretty sure Sean Payton probably had that game in week one of last year on the TVs all around the facilities all week long just to get the guys all amped up. I feel like Marshawn Lattimore, I think the game last week against the Cowboys kind of helped his confidence going up against a Mike Evans. He talked a little bit in an interview about how he gets a little bit, lost in the lights out there because people, for the most part, aren't throwing his way. They're picking on guys like PJ Williams and Eli Apple, and sometimes, they catch him sleeping. So I'm interested to see if Marshawn Lattimore is not going to, get caught sleeping anymore. Mike Evans is playing on a high level. I don't want anybody to think that I'm just discrediting the offense of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Mike Evans has been playing on, I mean, just a whole nother level right now, man. I don't know what happened, but it just seems like he playing on a different level. Then, he was getting covered most of the game in that Rams game, and then Chris Godwin stepping up. I mean, so these guys are a good 1-2 punch, and now you have OJ Howard out there at the tight end position. I mean, we all know what he can do, especially some of us LSU fans. We've been watching him since he was at the University of Alabama. He has a lot of promise, a lot of potential. I feel like he's just starting to live up to it. Barber, the running back, they don't get those big yards. They ain't going yard with it, but they run the ball just enough to keep it respectable. To set up the play action, and that's something that the Saints have to be careful for. They got to make sure that they're doing what they've been doing for the past couple weeks, and that is stopping the run. You got to make sure that you're stopping the run because if you stop the run, that completely shuts down the play action game. And what the offense of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers do well is the play action. Jameis Winston goes out there, and because they've been running the football and getting 3-4 yards a carry, that the defense has to respect the play action. So he's going out there, setting up the play action, throwing the ball down the field. And rather you like Jameis Winston or not, he's not that turnover machine he was for the last couple of years he's been in the NFL. I feel like Bruce Arians has saved the career of Jameis Winston. He's playing a lot better. He's making better decisions. He's taking what the defense give him, and he's playing a little bit more with more confidence. And that's scary. And also a guy who is the defensive coordinator of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, a guy I respect very much, defensive coordinator Todd Bowles, the former head coach of the New York Jets. This is a guy who's well respected around the league. He's a much better defensive coach than he is a head coach. I mean, it happens like that sometimes, right? Sometimes we see guys who are better coordinators than they are head coaches. I mean, for example, Dennis Allen. Dennis Allen was the head coach of the Raiders. When he left the Saints right after the Super Bowl, and it didn't pan out for him. It didn't work out, but he ended up getting a little stint out there in Denver. He did a good job, led them to the Super Bowl. They lost to the Seattle Seahawks, but he did. Was the defensive coordinator of that Denver Broncos team that went to the Super Bowl, and then finally coming back to the New Orleans Saints. And he's a much better coordinator. I mean, when you got Todd Bowles, this is a guy who knows how to disguise blitzes. He knows how to bring pressure. He knows how to get where he needs to be. He knows how to put his defensive players in position to make plays. So this is a good combination. I mean, you got the quarterback whispering Arians and a defensive genius and Todd Bowles. This is going to be a very interesting game for the New Orleans Saints. But I mean, there are some bright spots. Teddy Bridgewater talked about this in the interview. He was talking about Todd Bowles because we know before Teddy Bridgewater was playing for the Saints, he went up there to the New York Jets, and at the time Todd Bowles was the head coach, and he talked about some of the plays that Todd Bowles did and some of the defensive packages that he installed for the Jets. So Teddy Bridgewater is kind of familiar with Todd Bowles, and hopefully that can help out. But I mean, the Saints have played the New York Jets, a couple years ago, and Todd Bowles was the head coach, and the Saints really did a number on the New York Jets. But I think that what the Saints do best is something that Todd Bowles, it's probably gonna hurt Todd Bowles. Todd Bowles is one of those guys that like to bring pressure, like to bring the blitz, and I feel like the New Orleans Saints, they're good at the screen game. So if he's bringing pressure, all Teddy Bridgewater gonna have to do is go ahead and check that ball down to Alvin Kamara and watch him make plays. So I think Todd Bowles has to be very careful about when he brings pressure, and he got to be careful with that. I got to talk about the defensive line of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I mean, Shaq Barrett, once again, 9 sacks in the last 4 weeks. I mean, that's some Reggie White type stuff right there, man. That's legendary defensive end type stuff that he got going. He's going to be going up against Teron Armstead, and we all know that Teron Armstead had one of his worst weeks as a New Orleans Saint. One of the worst weeks that we ever seen him at the offensive line position. And this is a guy that's always ranked in the top 5 among his position. I said it on the last podcast. I felt like the top 2 left tackles in football, Tyron Smith and Teron Armstead, went up against, teams went up against each other, and also the best right tackles in football with Ramczyk and Collins. So I always look at Teron Armstead as one of the absolute best. But at the end of the day, he got his behind whooped. I mean, by Robert Quinn last week. I mean, that was embarrassing, man. For him to go out there and just put on that type of performance, I was wondering, was he hurt or anything like that? But he wasn't. I didn't see his name on the injury report. He needs a bounce back week. And so does the rest of that offensive line. For the last couple weeks, they've been struggling with holding penalties and I mean, 11 penalties 2 weeks ago, and then another 11 against the Seahawks, and I think maybe like another 7 or 8 against the Cowboys. They got to clean that stuff up. I mean, it's been several games now that the New Orleans Saints have had positive plays that have been called back because somebody was holding, blocking a back. I understand that Drew Brees is one of those pocket passers, and Drew Brees can get the ball out on time, and he's one of those guys that probably got that clock in his head and release, and you don't have to worry about holding your man so long. But Teddy Bridgewater is a completely different guy. So these guys have to make sure that they understand that this is not Drew Brees, under center. Teddy Bridgewater is not going to deliver the ball at the time that Drew Brees does. And this just made me think throughout the whole entire weekend for the last couple of weeks. It just showed you the importance of Drew Brees and how Drew Brees just makes everybody better around him, the receivers and the tackles. So, I mean, if you think about it, when Drew Brees is under center, the offensive line is always ranked in the top 5 among offensive line. It's because Drew Brees is getting that ball out on time. And we all know that Drew Brees does not like taking sacks. He will throw the ball at the feet of Alvin Kamara like it ain't nothing. He would throw that ball out of bounds. I mean, he would flip that ball, away. That's what Drew Brees does. And with him doing that, that's one less sack that's going to be on the statistics for the offensive line. So that makes the offensive line look very, very good. But with Teddy Bridgewater, I mean, he hasn't mastered that. He hasn't mastered the art of throwing the ball at Alvin Kamara's feet. I mean, we seen that in the fourth quarter of the game against the Cowboys, him taking that sack and putting them out of field goal range, and ended up Thomas Morstead had to punt the ball back and giving the Dallas Cowboys the opportunity for one last shot to win the football game. So Teddy Bridgewater hasn't reached that point yet. I feel like he probably will get there one day, but he is definitely not there yet. He's not there yet. So that's my take on the game. I would love to hear from you. What do you think the score is going to be in this game? What are your predictions? Also, donations are available if you want to. I'm not begging or anything like that, but if you would like to contribute to the show, please do. Donations are available. But I just want to say to everybody out there, thank you very much for checking out this podcast. What do you think about Drew Brees throwing the football? Like I said, once again, it was not a regulated NFL football. It was a Nerf football. So for all those people out there that's saying, "Oh man, take your time, hold up, man," just man, like I said, the doctors probably told Drew he can throw the football. He probably told him that he can throw it. So Drew Brees is not going to be out there throwing the football if the doctors told him not to. I'm pretty sure Drew Brees is smarter than that. But let me see what you all have to say. And once again, thank you very much for checking out the podcast while I'm checking out some of these comments. John T say, "What up, TJ? What's going on, John T? Thank you for checking out the podcast." Young Nola, a usual, what's popping, Wood? Man, what's going on with you, man? Appreciate you for always checking out the videos. Chosen Kingston, yo, Baton Rouge checking in. What's good, man? Man, shouts out to Baton Rouge and LSU Tigers getting that victory over Utah State. Joe Burrow is looking like a Heisman Trophy candidate and looking like a high NFL prospect. I'm pretty sure a lot of teams are looking at Joe Burrow right now because he's playing some really good football with the Tigers. Marcus Ryan said, "Did you see the video of Brees throwing the football?" Absolutely did, Marcus. That's actually on my State of the Saints podcast Facebook page. You can check it out. For those that have not seen it, go to facebook.com, search the State of the Saints podcast, and you can check that out. X-Men Exclusive says, "What's good, bro? New Orleans. Let's go, baby. Love my Saints. Hometown for life. Absolutely, man. Hometown for life, man. We all love the Saints. And thank you for checking in, man. Pain Music said, "What's up, TJ? Man, what's going on?" Uh, King Ebony, yo, what up? Who that? What's going on? Breeze need to chill. He is chilling. You know, like I said, he's throwing around the Nerf football now, the NFL regulated football. So I'm pretty sure that was probably something his doctor told him he can do. Yo, what's up, TJ? How do I donate? I can't see you any of your see any of your super chats. And if the Saints fall behind, do you think Teddy can play from behind? Well, I think the super chat is in the subscription box. So if you just I guess like the Streamlabs link, you'll be able to donate then. So, I mean, it's in the description. That's how you can donate. Louisville, Kentucky. What's going on, man? Shouts out to A Row. Uh, I don't care if it's a Nerf football, I'll take it. It's a step closer of him returning. Absolutely. He's ahead of schedule. But like I said, Drew Brees is one of those guys that always has a chip on his shoulder. I mean, he is the all-time lead in passer, all-time lead in completions. I think he's second all-time in touchdowns. He has all those accolades, but he still has a chip on his shoulder. I'm pretty sure he's still looking at how Texas A&M passed him by. He had to end up going to Purdue. How the Chargers ended up, allowing him to leave because they felt like they had Phillip Rivers and he was damaged goods. I feel like he probably felt like he had a chip on his shoulder because he was never league MVP. There's always something about Drew Brees that he's fighting for. He always has a chip on his shoulder, and now he has one now with people saying he is the expected time is 6 weeks. You better know that he's going to be trying to come back before the time people are expecting him to do that. Yeah, he will be back before week 6. This is what I think though. If the Saints are rolling, if they're winning, I don't think that there's no need for him to come back. But if the Saints just kind of go on like a little bit of a losing streak, which I'm kind of, I don't want this because they'll be trying to rush him back then. So, if the Saints are still rolling, ain't no need to try to rush him back. He can probably just stay out for past that bye week and going into that game against the Atlanta Falcons. Bucs want the smoke. Let's give it to him. Man, I look, King Ebony. Look, I respect that. If y'all want to get a Bucs to smoke, I just don't have the. I don't know, man. I just don't have the energy. Like I said, man, it's like going up against your little brother or something. Like your little brother ain't gonna do nothing to you. He might hit you on the arm or something, but it don't even hurt. That's the way. That's the way I feel about the Buccaneers, man. He and Sean Payton are pretty strategic. Drew will stay out until after the bye. These other teams have to decide if they will reserve some plays just in case he plays. Yeah, I thought about that too, Red Cross. That's pretty smart. Putting that video out of Drew Brees throwing the football. You know, Tampa Bay get a little nervous. They like, man, is he gonna play tomorrow and keep them up all night? Trying to install some packages in case Drew Brees play. Pretty smart stuff right there. Only because they beat the Rams. Yeah, that's basically it. Only because they beat them, but I just don't understand where all these Tampa Bay Buccaneers fans come from. Because I can just remember like a lot of these Tampa Bay Buccaneers fans like humbly church mice. Oh man, y'all keep it up, man. Y'all doing a good job. Like I'm talking about humble. Now all of a sudden, like they win a game that Carolina couldn't win, New Orleans couldn't win. Now all of a sudden, like they talking greasy. I just don't get it. I mean, at one time they were just all humble and stuff like that. But now all of a sudden, like they want to get cocky with it. I just don't get it. The Bucks have been the bottom feeders of the NFC South for over a decade. Absolutely, that's the they've been they've been absolutely hot garbage for a long time. That's why I don't even entertain them. Why do you think we are going to have to why do you think we are going to have to do to beat the Buccaneers? Okay, I assume you meant to beat instead of to beat the Buccaneers. I don't want to beat the Buccaneers. I definitely don't want to beat the Buccaneers. But I definitely want the Saints to beat the Buccaneers. But yeah, Jackie, this is what I think they need to do. Um, the Saints need to run the football. They need to control the time of possession. They need to have another defensive performance like they had last week. Of course, when you're playing against a divisional rival, they know the tendencies of these players. They got all this tape and film and stuff like that, but they got to have a good performance. And Teddy Bridgewater has to put the ball into the end zone. If you get down to the goal line, you got to make sure that you're punching it in with touchdowns instead of field goals. That's how you beat the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and generate some turnovers, which the Saints have been doing for the last 3 weeks. Yeah, I'm saying 3 weeks because I count that that forced fumble that Cam Jordan picked up and ran for a touchdown. That's what you need, and that's what the Saints need to continue to do. Um, let's see. Uh, Bucs fans went crazy last year with Fitz Magic. I'll be acting the same way when you drop 50 on the Rams. Man, well, I don't know. You just gotta win something to me. I mean, you can act crazy all you want to, but you end up looking like the Cowboys. That's all I'm saying. Cowboy fans, like they saw that game week 13 and they just thought that history was going to repeat itself. That's what they thought. But the Saints shut that down real quick. Okay. They shut it down real quick and had them boys up there looking just straight stupid out here in these streets. So the way I look at it, you gotta be humble at all times, man. You can't just be going around here talking all greasy. All right. I don't trust the Bucs. Always a hard matchup. Yeah, they're always a hard matchup, but I just think that the Saints are a better football team. Who that, Mr. Jones? I'm from Uptown on Second Street. We need to run a power game, run the down fullback and Murray. Uh, yeah, I think you need to run the football. Like I said, control the time of possession. Fullback, yeah, if you can run them if you want to get a first down. You need 1 yard. But I do think they need to utilize Latavius Murray much better. Last week, I think he did a good job against the Cowboys. Week 1 against the Texans, I think he did a good job. I don't know why Sean Payton doesn't use Latavius Murray enough, as much as he did Mark Ingram back in the day. I think that he's a good running back. That's why I feel like people, who are critiquing Latavius Murray need to chill out because I mean you haven't seen enough out of this guy. I mean he hasn't really been used that much. But when he does come into the game, short yardage situations and stuff like that, I mean he runs really hard. So I got a lot of respect for Latavius. Winston had 2 good games in a row, and their fans want to act like he is elite. The guy can throw multiple pick sixes in a heartbeat. Uh, Marcus Ryan, look, I mean, I can understand where they're coming from. It seems like he's playing a lot better. He is the offensive player of the month. He's done a lot better. I think Bruce Arians, in my opinion, is saving this guy's career. But I can understand why they're happy. But I just don't get why they feel like they can just jump out of the window and talk all greasy to people in the NFC South. I'm not even just talking about the Saints. I'm talking about every other team in the NFC South. I just never experienced anything like that. I mean, I never heard the Tampa Bay Buccaneers fan base talking as greasy. I mean, I probably had to go back to Brad Johnson being a quarterback. And when they had that elite defense with Derek Brooks, Warren Sapp, and John Lynch, Mike Allstott in them, like Warwick Dunn in them, you know what I'm saying? Sean King, former Tulane Greenway. I mean, I had to go back when I heard them talking as greasy as they've been talking. But, like I said, man, I heard somebody say they want the smoke. I mean, they can try to get it all they want to. You know what I'm saying? They want the smoke. We'll give it to them. But at the end of the day, I just still feel like the Saints are a better football team. I don't think that the Tampa Bay Buccaneers have enough horses in the barn to go up against the Saints. I mean, it's a winner's mentality, man. It's a dog mentality. And I feel like the Saints got it. I feel like the team that the Saints have, them boys, some savages, some dogs on the field. When you got some guys that can go out there and can hit, playing for their brother, like, I mean, how long has it been? Like, honestly, even when the Saints be down by like 3 touchdowns going into the half, how many of us like really truly still believe when they come out of halftime that they still got an opportunity to win the football game. I do. I promise you, until all of the zeros hit zero on the clock in the fourth quarter, that's when I knew that the Saints lost the game. I have never ever, like, since this team has been together, like, collectively, I'm talking about going back to the divisional round when they played Minnesota. I have never watched the New Orleans Saints football game since that particular time frame and thought that the Saints were out of the game no matter how many points they were down by. And I look at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, I just don't feel like they had that type of mentality. I don't feel like they got them type of dogs that the Saints have, man. You look at these guys, man, they playing for each other. They care about one another. They patting each other, you know what I'm saying, on the shoulders. I be seeing Jameis Winston over there fighting with his offensive lineman. I don't see none of that on the New Orleans Saints line. You know what I'm saying? All I see is people holding people accountable, guys shaking their head like, okay, man, you right, you right. You know, guys that okay to, take criticism. They don't wear their heart on their sleeve. These guys go out here, when somebody don't make a play, they lifting each other head up and say, hey, we're going to need you next time. That's the true definition of a team. And that's why I feel like the New Orleans Saints are just better. I mean, and then you can count talent as well. I mean, these guys go out here and they execute very, very well. So until the Tampa Bay Buccaneers get a squad like that, until the Tampa Bay Buccaneers can prove to me that they can sustain a lead, come back from a deficit, and actually have this type of camaraderie that the New Orleans Saints have, I will forever say that the New Orleans Saints are a better football team than the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And that's the reason why I feel like they're going to win. Think defense will shut down those long bounds played by Mike Evans with Lattimore locking down on him. Well, I hope so, man. Lattimore, in my opinion, I like him, but sometimes he has a tendency of reading his own press clippings. Man, you got to put that newspaper down. All right. I mean, you don't like in the words of Andre 3000 on Rosa Parks, you only funky as your last cut. You mess around and you to be a has what. You know what I'm saying? That's exactly what it is. You only funky as your last cut. You're only better than your last game. Last game he out here, man, looking like one of the best cornerbacks in the National Football League. National media singing your praises because it was a primetime game. What you gonna do, bruh? What are you gonna do? What are you gonna do? Are you gonna go out here and read your press clippings and you know what I'm saying, and post and put that stuff on Twitter, and all of a sudden you back on Twitter and back on social media now that people ain't saying that you done took a step back? Or you gonna put that paper down and say, okay, man, all right, it's only getting started. It's only the beginning. Because if you don't, Mike Evans is ready to go out there and put you on a poster, dude. And this guy's an incredible wide receiver. So what kind of cornerback are you going to be, Lattimore? Are you going to be that elite defensive rookie of the year that everybody looked at and said, man, this is the future of the National Football League. This is the future of the cornerback position. Or are you going to just be some other guy that's wearing the number 23? Okay, last week you looked like that guy that wanted to be great. So I question it this week. Lattimore, do you want to be great? Do you want to be great? That's my question to him. Because if not, Mike Evans is gonna go out there and he gonna cause some problems. Tampa Bay, straight trash. I'm not gonna call them straight trash. They doing a good job this season. I just don't think they better than the Saints. I'm a who that for life. But Bucs, the only other team in our division with a championship, and let's not forget they beat us season opener last year. We gotta be focused. Look, I got a lot of respect for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers greats. Okay, I got a lot of respect for Warren Sapp, Derek Brooks, John Lynch, Mike Allstott. You know what I'm saying? Like all of those great players. You know what I'm saying? Simeon Rice, all them cats. I got a lot of respect for them. But at the end of the day, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers haven't done a damn thing in a long time. And let's just call it for what it is, okay? This is what have you done for me lately? And what have they done is absolutely nothing. Yeah, they got the same amount of Super Bowls as the New Orleans Saints. That is true. But the New Orleans Saints, for the past couple years, I say the last 10 years, the Saints have been one of the top teams in the National Football League. They're up there like among the top 5 for most wins in the last decade. If you look at the New Orleans Saints, all these teams that always dominate the national media, the Dallas Cowboys, the Pittsburgh Steelers, the New England Patriots, the size. Big Ben Roethlisberger has not beaten the New Orleans Saints since 2006. You look at the Dallas Cowboys. The Saints have a winning record over them over the past decade. I think the New England Patriots, I think the Saints may have a one-game lead against them over the past decade, if I'm not mistaken. But at the end of the day, the Saints are one of the top teams. And when you look at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, all you see is the bottom of the barrel. Okay, look, man, we can be, we can play around, we can talk Super Bowls, but at the end of the day, it's about wins. Look, everybody is not going to be a Super Bowl champion. There's only one Super Bowl champion every single year. Okay, but when we talk about records, when we talking about conference championships, the New Orleans Saints are just better than the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So I'm not going to sit around here and say, oh man, they've got the same amount of Super Bowls, because that is true. But the Saints have been consistently one of the top NFL teams, that they have. So Tampa Bay need to catch up. It's just a matter of time before the Bucs come falling right back down to earth. Man, they got to do something. They got to do something in order for me to respond to them. I'm just saying. Bucks haven't made the playoffs since 2007. That is true. I think we need another wide receiver again, not explosive like he used to be. I disagree. I think that Ted again is explosive like he used to be, but when you have Teddy Bridgewater, nickel and diamond, penny and quarter in it down the field, it's hard for you to see if Ted again is wide open. So I don't believe that. I have to wait till Drew Brees come back and see if he is. But I think that Ted again still has that speed. I mean, everybody else says he does. Saints will score 55 points, not Tampa Bay. I hope so, but I highly doubt it. I can't see the Saints scoring 55 points with Teddy Bridgewater as their quarterback. The Bucs do have a Super Bowl though, other than the other teams in the South. Yeah, but like I said, what have they done since then? That Super Bowl was in 2003. Ice Cream Man, what's going on, man? Did you see Brees throwing the ball? Yeah, I seen that. AJ Pierce. The Saints are the best in NFC South and the NFL. For the last couple of seasons, yes, they have been. Okay. And to me, that's the reason why I feel like the Saints are public enemy number one when it comes to the referees. I feel like the Saints, they mess with the natural order of things. Okay, I don't think that the National Football League likes the New Orleans Saints being as successful as they are, and I guess they feel like if they screw the Saints for a couple of years, eventually Drew Brees will retire, and they'll be like in the middle of the pack like they once were, or whatever like this. But as we can see, Drew Brees has been out for the last couple of games, and the Saints still been chugging along. It hasn't been your traditional Drew Brees throw it all over the place type football team, but they're doing enough to win a football game. So I think that what the Saints have turned into has benefited them in the last couple of games. If you notice, um, Drew Brees started to get older. You can tell Sean Payton decided to change up the offense and make it more like a run-oriented offense. If you notice over the last couple of years, the Saints' numbers have dropped offensively. That's because Sean Payton wants to run the football, and he wants Drew Brees to kind of just, I won't call him a game manager, but just try to get the ball down the field, you know what I'm saying, and with different routes and stuff like that. But the Saints for the last couple of years, they transformed into like a running football team. I know we look at it like, man, they throw the ball all over the place, but the numbers, if you look at it for the past couple of years, the Saints are running the ball a whole lot more than they did in the past. So I think that the Saints have kind of prepared themselves for this. And lucky for them that they have. So I'm happy about that. Bucks, the next team up. The Saints are not going to win NFC South this year, no way. Uh, the truth, I assume that you're a Buccaneers fan. You said the Bucks are the next team up. Uh, yeah, it may be. You know what I'm saying? Like they got a young football team. I think that they have a lot of promise. But what you're talking about, it takes some time, man. Like teams have to learn how to lose, in order for them to start learning how to win. I'm gonna give y'all a prime example, and this don't have anything to do with football, but I think back to the early '90s with the early Orlando Magic basketball team led by Shaquille O'Neal, Penny Hardaway, Nick Scott. You know what I'm saying? Like guys like that, Scott Skiles, basketball team. And it took them a while for them to actually learn how to win. Now they didn't win the NBA Finals, but they end up getting there. But you have to learn you got to learn how to win. I think about the Oklahoma City Thunder. You had James Harden, Kevin Durant, and Russell Westbrook all on the same team. And now you look at these guys, like all three of them are MVPs, you know what I'm saying, of the NBA. You got to learn how to lose sometime, man, in order for you to learn how to win. And I feel like with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, this is a very young football team, and they have a lot of work to do. Okay. And honestly, I don't trust y'all players. A lot of questions need to be answered. Has Jameis Winston really turned the corner? Will Mike Evans, sustain this type of pace? Will OJ Howard take that next step? Uh, will Ndamukong Suh play 100% every single play? Because everybody knows that he has a tendency of taking some plays off, and it seems to me that Ndamukong Suh doesn't really care, in my opinion, about winning championships, because if he did, he would have ended up signing with the New Orleans Saints or staying with the Los Angeles Rams. It seems like to me like he just sells himself to the highest bidder. So I feel like when you're dealing with a guy like that, what kind of guy do you have? Like, is he going to give it his all? I mean, a lot of unanswered questions. Is the secondary going to be able to hold up? Are these guys going to get on the same page? Is the chemistry going to grow? So I think until you answer those questions, you're going to continue to have the same problems. And like I said, losing an 18-point lead to the Giants, almost losing your lead to the Los Angeles Rams. Those are the type of things that teams need to clean up. And those are like marks of teams that aren't elite just yet. I mean, you have to learn how to lose before you learn how to win. That's just my opinion. The rest would try to clothesline us if they they said no. The ref will get clothesline if they try. Okay. Well, look, I don't know, man. They've been trying to screw us over the past couple years. We should trade a future pick for another wide receiver, maybe go get AB, then lock for the Super Bowl. Hex to the no. Have you seen Henderson? Absolutely not with the AB. Okay, no AB. I do think that the Saints do need another wide receiver. I do believe that. I think that the Traquan Smith experiment is kind of a failure. I think that Traquan Smith, I thought that he'll be a much better. I know he's injured, and I think he's supposed to play against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, but he hasn't panned out the way that I thought. I thought that he'd be playing much better than he did. He did score a touchdown, I think, in the first game of the season, I think, and I know he ended up getting hurt against the Rams, but I have to see more out of Traquan Smith right now. I just feel like he kind of in bust territory. Well, I wouldn't call him a bust because I mean we were like a third round pick. So I do think that the New Orleans Saints do need another wide receiver. Speaking of wide receivers, I heard Stephon Diggs was thinking about getting traded from the Minnesota Vikings, and New Orleans. I can't think it was Canal Street Chronicles or another Saints page wrote an article about Stephon Diggs possibly playing for the New Orleans Saints. Now I know Stephon Diggs is not one of the most popular people in New Orleans. I mean, we all know why. But when it comes to actually playing the game of football, Stephon Diggs is really, really good. Stephon Diggs is a guy who is kind of fed up with Minnesota. You look at the quarterback play of Kirk Cousins. First game of the season, I think he threw the ball 10 times, and Dalvin Cook ended up winning that game for him. And it seems like the Minnesota Vikings are like a run first offense right now. Adam Thielen frustrated with Kirk Cousins. Look like Stephon Diggs is frustrated with Kirk Cousins. So honestly, I mean, I wouldn't mind Stephon Diggs playing for the New Orleans Saints. I'll take him. I think that he's a really good wide receiver. I think that he has good hands. I think he's a crisp route runner. Is he the fastest person in the world? Absolutely not. but he has a knack of finding ways to getting open, and I think that's the only thing that you can ask for in a wide receiver. Trying to get open and making sure that you catch the ball, and I think he does a good job with that. I've seen him play for the Saints. I mean, play against the Saints. He's done a great job. So I would love to see Stephon Diggs in the Saints uniform. I think that he'll be the answer. On the other side of Michael Thomas, man, them boys be eating it. Them boys be eating in New Orleans. And then that he plays in a dome, so it wouldn't be like no big transition for him. So thanks for the podcast. I look forward to hearing from you every week. I appreciate that. Thank you very much. I just tried to give you the best podcast possible. Give you a perspective on the New Orleans Saints. Unbiased perspective. I mean, I love my team, but I try to be as objective as I possibly can. Who that, Mr. Jones? Let's just run power football, run Murray, give Kamara a little break. Um, Neville, it seems like to me like you're you like you like the power game. You like the the running of the football. You like the ball being carried 25, 30 times in the game. Like I'm not mad at that. I think that the New Orleans Saints do need to run the ball more than they need to pass it. I mean, especially with Teddy Bridgewater as your quarterback. And honestly, I mean, look, a win is a win. Look, I know we want it to look sexy. We want to be able to dance around our living rooms, and we want to get on social media and know that the game is over by the third quarter, like we once did back, I think, in like 2013 when the Saints was racking up all type of offensive records. I mean, that's cool, man. But I mean, man, running the football is going to be the key. Okay, I mean, I know it's ugly, I know it's boring, but at the end of the day, who cares as long as you get that dub, man? Like, I don't care if the Saints win 10-9, 12-10 like they did last week. I don't care. Like I really don't. A win is a win. Nobody remembers how you won. Anybody remember like right off the top of their head the score of the Houston Texan game? I don't. Anybody remember the final score of the Seattle Seahawks game right off the bat? I don't. Like I mean, I just know they won. And that's the way I look at it. I don't care. Like, I mean, you think about it, man, like what was the score of the NFC Championship game against the Minnesota Vikings? Like, I don't know. I just know that Garrett Hartley kicked a 40-plus yard field goal to send the Saints to the Super Bowl. That's all I care about. Like I care about the wins. I don't care about how they won. I just care that they win. And that's all that matters to me. Let's just be consistent. Let's just be consistent with these dubs until Drew Brees get back. And then if you play if you go out here and you play some of your best ball defensively, when Drew Brees come back, they're gonna be tough to stop. So let's just keep on getting these dubs, man. And let's continue to clean up the little mistakes that we make from week to week, like these holding penalties. Never you miss number 22. I think we all do. But shouts out to Mark Ingram. He's doing a good job in Baltimore, which I predicted that he would. I always like Mark Ingram. And I feel like, man, look, the way he was just born to be a Raven. Like the way that they play football, that's kind of right up Mark Ingram's alley. So I feel like he right at home. I'm pretty sure he probably missed the locker room, but when it comes to like the way that the Ravens play, I guarantee you wouldn't trade that for nothing. So yeah, yeah, proud. I heard Drew Brees throwing the football again. Yeah, he is. It was a Nerf football, but yeah, he throwing it again. We've been spoiled in the passing game by Peyton and Brees. We always ran well, even back to Ironhead. Yeah, Craig Ironhead Haywood. Yeah, he used to run the ball really good. Dalton Hillian and stuff like that. Yeah, of course, man. I mean, the Saints always ran the ball. I mean, Mario Bates. I mean, Ricky Williams. Ray Zellis. Like the Saints always kind of ran the football. They always been like a run first team. It wasn't until like I said, 2006 when Sean Payton came through, the mad scientist that he is. That's when the Saints just start throwing the ball all over the place. But at the end of the day, you know, I I mean I ain't mad at the running game. If the running game is going to keep the clock running, Let's just try to keep the clock running. Let's try to sustain some drives. Let's try to punch it into the end zone, a couple of times more than the opponent. Let's kick some field goals and let's get the heck out of here with a win. Like I said, long as you win, that's all that matters. I don't care about all that stuff, like all that dissecting and all that. That's irrelevant. Okay, that's irrelevant if the team getting the job done. Like I said, Teddy Bridgewater, that's not really a job, man. I mean, if he was out here playing like Patrick Mahomes or Aaron Rodgers or like one of these other elite quarterbacks, he wouldn't be a Saints backup now, would he? I mean, he'll be on somebody else squad dominating the NFL, being a part of the MVP race, but that's not who he is. I mean, he is a backup quarterback. That's his job to come up in here and just, make sure that the bus, is driving still on the road. So that's what it's all about. Uh who that? Brees, comeback Saints going to be a juggernaut. I hope so. If the defense continues to play the way that they've been playing, it's going to be some problem for a lot of teams. What happened to Lil Jordan Humphrey last game? He was out there, man, but he didn't get any targets. Me personally, I just think that Lil Jordan just out there. I just think that they just got him out there. Run these same routes Traquan's running. And Traquan will be back, so I'm pretty sure Lil Jordan probably go back to the practice squad. I feel like he still has a little bit more work to do. I think he's a little nervous. I watched the interview that he did, man. You can tell he was just a little nervous, even to speak to the media, man. So I think that he has a little bit of a confidence issue he has to deal with. But I think that, maybe, being on the practice squad, maybe going to training camp next year, I think that Lil Jordan Humphreys will play a lot better. But right now, um, I just think that he doesn't have it. We need a Pat Mahomes. Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of teams need Pat Mahomes. But I mean, the Kansas City Chiefs have. I mean, we were a spot away from getting Patrick Mahomes, but the Chiefs end up jumping in front of the Saints and getting Patrick Mahomes, and we end up getting Marshawn Lattimore. So I think it worked out for both teams, in my opinion. You think the trade for Pat Peterson dead? I don't know. I don't know if the trade for Pat Peterson did. It may not be. I mean, last year you got to think about it. It was a whole different team, out there with the Arizona Cardinals. They fired their head coach. They ended up getting Cliff Kingsbury as the head coach. So that might be like a whole different regime. And maybe somebody like a Cliff Kingsbury will be open to it, especially if Patrick Peterson make enough noise. I mean, looking at the record of the Arizona Cardinals, the Cardinals organization may be more open to letting Patrick Peterson go, and not to mention the tragic death of the owner of the Arizona Cardinals, on somebody that loved and respected Patrick Peterson and did not want to trade him at all. So when you look at it, you got the new coach, and you look at the fact that the man that loved and respected and did not want to see Patrick Peterson walk out the door has passed on. Maybe this can be the time where Patrick Peterson can actually go to a team that can actually be a Super Bowl contender, and maybe it is the Saints. So maybe this could be the time for him. I know he's supposed to come back. I think he's coming back this week. I think he's coming back. He served a 4-game suspension for violating the NFL substance abuse policy, but from what I heard with the reports, it wasn't anything like he was taking steroids or anything like that. It was just some medication that he was taking. Um, how do you think our offense would have looked if we didn't trade it away Stills? When he was here, he was a fan favorite. Man, yeah, I think they would have had another cog in the offensive piece, so to speak. Kenny Stills was a good slide receiver. He was kind of like that Lance Moore guy, a guy that go out there and get the third down. We know that Lance Moore was missed the third down. When the 3rd and 7, we looking for number 16. And when Kenny Stills was here, he was kind of the same guy. Um, but I mean, Kenny Stills has grown and developed. I mean, it was a whole completely different Kenny Stills in New Orleans than it was everywhere else that he went. Kenny Stills kind of developed, and he's become one of the most well, one of the most important and upstanding guys in the National Football League. I think the Houston Texans are lucky to have a guy like that, even though it was through a trade. I think that he would have been one of those guys that would have been a leader for the New Orleans Saints as he's been with the Miami Dolphins. But who knows, man? I mean, he probably would have been that guy to move the chains. I mean, guys like Willie Snead. I don't feel like Willie Snead should have walked out the door. But the New Orleans Saints, for some apparent reason, I don't know if Sean Payton just didn't like Willie Snead or what. Even like when Willie Snead came back, it seemed like Sean Payton didn't have no plays for him. I don't know if he was just upset with him. I know Willie Snead like had some kind of DUI or something like that, and maybe Sean Payton lost confidence in him because after that he just completely like didn't have no plays in for Willie Snead. But Willie Snead out there balling in Baltimore right along with his good buddy Mark Ingram. Penalties get our playmakers disgruntled. I think that what has Armstead playing like he was in the last game. Uh, DJ Big Sam, the Candy Man. That's a good point, but man, football is the game of emotions, man. You never can be too high, you never can be too low. The New Orleans Saints have to understand that. If Teron Armstead is letting a few penalties get into his head and getting him frustrated, then he's in the wrong sport. Because I mean, over the past couple of years, we all know that penalties is the least of the same trouble when it comes to being disgruntled. But I don't think that's the case, man. I think when you're dealing with a completely different quarterback, his tendencies, his timing, I think all of that comes into play, and I think that's the reason why Armstead probably hasn't been playing up to snuff. I mean, it's one thing going up against, playing with a Drew Brees when Drew Brees getting the ball out of his hands 3 seconds, 5 seconds, 2 seconds. Versus Teddy Bridgewater who holds the ball 6, 7 seconds in some cases. So I think that has a lot to do with it. So it's a chemistry thing, if you ask me. Is there a possibility that Drew Brees will be back before the bye? Yeah, there's a possibility, Jerry. There's a possibility. I mean, knowing Drew Brees, I think he'll be ready in no time. But if the Saints are rolling once again, I don't think that you need to rush him. Marcus Ryan says, QB, if Joe Burrow is there when the Saints pick him, should they grab him? If there's a better quarterback than Joe Burrow, don't grab him. If Joe Burrow is the best quarterback available, just take a look at him. But Joe Burrow is doing a very good job with the LSU Tigers. I know it got a lot of people in Baton Rouge excited about the play, but I gotta see more. I gotta see how this guy performs. In the combines and stuff like that. With the elevated stock. I mean, his stock is going up right now, so um, he might be like one of those top quarterbacks that get taken. If he continues to play at the pace and playing the way that he has been. Uh, Brees say he can brush his teeth now. Sounds like he'll be back early. Yeah. I mean, Drew Brees, like I said, he's always trying to defy the odds. So I think that he might be back. Flat out, if we can't get on the positive side of all this penalties, we will be fine. Well, yeah, that's true, man. We clean it up. The Saints will do much better. I feel like Akeem Hicks shouldn't have walked. He is balling in Chicago. Marcus Ryan, I disagree. I absolutely disagree. I feel like Akeem Hicks was a clown with New Orleans, and I think there's a reason why he ended up getting cut by the New Orleans Saints. I mean, he was up in there. He was one of those guys, man. He was one of those toxic locker room guys with the Junior Gillettes back in the day. Um, I think when the Saints was having some rough times, he was up there speaking out, talking about the defense and talking about his teammates, throwing them under the bus. Sean Payton wouldn't have no guys like that in the locker room. And right after that press conference, he ended up shipping that boy out. And I feel like that's what he needed, like but that I mean, that's a good question that we need to ask, right? If he wouldn't have got shipped out of New Orleans, would he be the player that he is right now? Because it seems like every time the Saints lose, he goes on social media going up there talking about the Saints. It is well documented that he don't like the organization. He does not like Sean Payton. I think when the Saints played the Bears down in New Orleans a couple of years ago, he walked right past Sean Payton, didn't even want to shake his hand. So I disagree, man. I think that the reason why you see Keem Hicks being the monster and the beast that he is right now is because of the chip on his shoulder he had when the Saints traded him. We got to have a penalty-free game. Yep, I agree. Yes, we never should have let Hicks go. Man, I disagree. I disagree. I'm all about chemistry. Like man, you can have all the talent in the world, you can have all the abilities that God can bless you with, but if you're a toxic player in the National Football League inside of your locker room, I don't want nothing to do with you. I'd rather have a guy with a bunch of heart and some talent than a guy with just unlimited talent and just a locker room problem, because that is going to trickle down to some of your young players, your young bulls, uh, your veterans, all that kind of stuff, and that's going to call for a team to divide. I feel like what the Saints actually got in their locker room right now, I feel like you can win championships with that because guys are playing for each other and not just for themselves. I mean, that's the reason why Brandon Cooks ain't here no more. You remember when the Saints went up against the Rams, blew them out? I mean, I think the Saints beat them like 42-6 or something like that one year. And everybody was eating, and all of a sudden, I think it was like Michael Thomas rookie year, and Brandon Cooks went to his agent and said, told his agent to say that he wanted to get traded, and like, man, like, it can't be like that. Look, I understand you want to shine and all that kind of stuff, but the most important thing is the team actually winning a game. Like, I understand you want to be great. I understand that you want to be a Hall of Famer, because if you not playing, to be a Hall of Famer, what the hell you playing in the National Football League for? But at the end of the day, you gotta be playing for the team. It's about the team, man. It's about getting that dub as a team. Okay, sometimes your number may not get called. You might have been open. You might, what I'm saying? But at the end of the day, like, if the team win, like, just grin and bear it and keep it moving. Maybe the Saints beat Chicago in 2 weeks. His will shut up. I guess probably not. I probably not. He'll probably be saying, "I see you on the playoffs." TJ, we played A Hooks out of position the whole time he was here, and the D coordinator was trash. Yeah, Rob Ryan wasn't the best defensive coordinator. I think we all can agree with that. It wasn't the most organized or punctual cat that we ever seen. But at the end of the day, um, look, you don't throw your team under the bus. You don't throw your teammates under the bus. And if you're doing stuff like that, then you can kick rocks. That's just the way I see it. Like, I mean, nothing should be bigger than a team. You should never be bigger than a team. It's a team sport, okay? A team sport. All right. It's no big eyes and, what I'm saying, little U's. You know what I'm saying? It's a cohesive unit. If all positions are not playing together collectively and have chemistry, you're not winning a damn thing. Okay, so if you're throwing teammates under the bus, I ain't got nothing for you. I don't respect that. Brandon Cook was crying because Thomas was getting more targets. Yep, but we see why now, right? Because Michael Thomas is better than Brandon Cooks. Yeah, Brandon Cooks is fast as hell, and yeah, he got good hands, but he can't get no yak. When the last time you actually seen Brandon Cooks get some yak? Like, I ain't talking about when he run a streak route, when he just run a straight nine up the field. I'm talking about if he running a slant route, or anything like that. When the last time you seen him break a tackle? I don't think I ever seen this dude break no tackle. He's not elusive. He just got straight line speed. He's not even like a Chris route runner or anything like that. He just got top end speed, and it's like when he get behind you, you're not catching him. And he has good hands, but he's not a better player than Michael Thomas. I think that was proven, and I think that's what the Saints saw. Like, they looked at it like, man, this dude Michael Thomas go be the truth. We get rid of this dude. That's what they did. But it worked out for everybody. I mean, Brandon Cooks got his money, and Michael Thomas got his, and both teams are pretty happy with who they got. Even though I feel like they paid the wrong dude, they should have paid Cooper Cup, but that's just my opinion. CGJ playing ball right now. Yeah, he is, man. Y'all seen that meme when he hit Dak Prescott there? Dak Prescott on the ground. He was like, he could talk about wanting to throw a flag. Like it wasn't no flag, man. That man hit you right in the mid. This man hit you right in the midsection of yourself, man. He didn't hit you in the head or nothing like that. When you on the ground. I'm like, nah, bro, nah, ain't nobody gonna throw no flag on that. Like, stop crying. Peyton without a reason. I agree. Um, I mean, he don't let players go without a reason. Um, I mean, Akeem Hicks turned his career around. God bless him, but I don't regret that. I mean, I don't think the Saints hurting. I mean, they got Sheldon Rankins. Like Sheldon Rankins is a good defensive tackle. David Amuyamada is coming on, so I don't feel like the Saints hurting. And I'm happy for Akeem Hicks, all things considered. I mean, he's not one of my favorite players in the world. I think he a crybaby and a whiner. But at the end of the day, like I'm happy for him. I'm happy that he found a home. I'm happy that he's out there eating with the Chicago Bears, but I don't feel like the Saints losing. I mean, anything. Sheldon Rankins is a really good defensive tackle, and so is David Amumata. Bad locker rooms is why Vaccaro and Stills were shipped out also. Kenny Vaccaro, that's not the reason why he was shipped out. Kenny Vaccaro got shipped out because he was sorry in coverage. Always getting beat. Several times he got benched because he was out of position. I don't know what happened. Like I think it was like 2012, 2013 when he got drafted. It seemed like he was one of the best defensive players on that side of the football. People were talking about how he was going hard in practice, and guys had to calm him down. And then all of a sudden, I guess he got too calm because, he must have, I don't know, lost his talent or something like that, man. I mean, his ability to tackle and his ability to cover. But, um, I mean, I don't feel like that's the reason why he was shipped out. I don't feel like he was a bad locker room guy. But I just feel like he was just one of those guys that was a liability. Yeah, what I'm saying, you put him like, almost like in a as a foot linebacker or something like that, or in the linebacker type position, he can make the tackle or something like that, or come on a blitz. But when it comes to coverage, boy, stay getting beat like a Persian rug. I think we should draft a wide receiver and a quarterback in another corner. Uh, yeah, that sounds like a good draft to me, young Nola. I think quarterback would be first. Wide receiver would be second, in my opinion. I think you can always find a good wide receiver in the later rounds. And as far as a cornerback is concerned, unless you like getting a guy that's like top 10, top 15, you can always get one in the later rounds. That probably will be a work in progress, but nevertheless, somebody that you can, play, plug in a little bit. So, um, and also, there are guys that you probably can get in free agency. I mean, Eli Apple, I mean, even though, it doesn't seem like, the Saints are going to re-sign him, you can always re-sign somebody else that's probably out there that can take his spot. Mr. Jones, we need Mr. Davis to take over the speech before the game. Um, Demario has been taken over. I mean, I think he's doing an excellent job. Demario Davis is just a good human being, all in all, man. What a great guy. I mean, he's a humanitarian. We know about like some of his work off the field. I mean, to me, before his career is over, he's gonna end up being a Walter Payton Man of the Year, and he's a leader. I mean, you can't fake that type of stuff. I mean, you can feel the passion when he speaks, and you can tell that it comes from a place that's genuine and true. So I mean, he's doing a good job right now, but until Drew Brees retires, I feel like that should be Drew Brees' job. But I feel like Demario gonna be here for a long time after Drew Brees is retired, so it'll be his sooner rather than later. We definitely need to draft a corner. Yeah, I mean, yeah, we need to draft a corner. I wouldn't be mad at that, but like I said, you can also get a young young free agent cornerback too. Somebody that you don't have to worry about developing, and you can also just get a cornerback, somebody that you can kind of draft, and he can sit behind that free agent cornerback and develop and learn and stuff like that. I think either or is good, depend on if you got the coaches that are going to be able to work with these guys, because in my opinion, I know a lot of people may not want to hear this, but Aaron Glenn is on borrowed time. And I'm not saying because he's bad, I'm talking about because he's good. A team is going to pick up Aaron Glenn. Aaron Glenn almost left the Saints organization because the New England Patriots offered him like a assistant coach job, but he ended up not taking it. He ended up staying with the New Orleans Saints, and eventually somebody is going to give Aaron Glenn an offer that he will not be able to refuse, and he's going to take it. And yeah, I think he's on borrowed time. Jared Cook, Dan Arnold, and Josh Hill need to tighten up. Our tight ends have been bad. Um, is Dan Arnold still with the Saints? Is Dan Arnold still out there for real? Wow, that I didn't know. I always thought like Taysom Hill was like the third tight end. But yeah, but if he is there, you need to tighten up. I don't think he with the Saints though. I think they cut him. I watched First Take Monday after the game. Stephen A. Smith was tripping and trolling the Dallas Cowboys. Yeah, I seen that. He was wearing them cowboy boots and hat. Yeah, that was funny, man. I posted that on my State of Saints podcast Facebook page too. Uh, let's see, Marcus. We need to get strong at tight end. And man, it ain't the fact we need to get strong at tight end. Jared Cook just got to play better. I mean, we paid this guy. I won't say we. I ain't got nothing to do with that. The Saints paid this guy to go out there and produce the way he was doing last year in Oakland. And I don't know what's going on with that, but he just needs to tighten up, man. He's dropping way too many passes, and I mean, they paid him way too much money for him to just be as obsolete as he's been. How many first rounds we have for next year? Anybody in the chat? No, I think we just got one. Of course, they didn't have one this year because of the trade with the Green Bay Packers to get Marcus Davenport. But as far as I know, they have a first round pick. Um, I thought we had two or three. Um, I don't know what that was, young Nolan. I don't know if you're talking about the draft picks or the tight ends. Do you think it's Andrews Pete last year with us? Yep, I think it is. I think it is Andrews Pete last year. If I me personally, the Saints got Nick Easton, I would have used Andrews Pete as trade leverage. I think that the Saints could have got something for Andrews Pete, because Andrews Pete can not only play guard, he can play the left tackle position as well. And when teams are struggling like that, I think that they should have called up the Texans. I think the Texans end up getting Larry McTunzel, but they should have got Andrews Pete. And can you imagine like if the Saints got the Texans first round pick? I don't know. So that's what I would have done. Josh Hill has been okay and what he's best at, which is run blocking. That's true. Dan Arnold is on the practice squad, and Cook needs to step up. Yeah, man. I feel like Josh Hill is he's a good running block and tight end, man. That's what he is. He's a blocking tight end. And he catches out the backfield. I mean, you don't see like Josh Hill like going yard or nothing like that. I mean, you'll probably see him like streaking down the sidelines or something like that, or in a goal line situation. But you don't see no Dan. You ain't about to see no Dan Arnold go out there and ball out like no Antonio Gates or nothing like that, but he's a good run blocker. I've seen like a couple of plays that were really long, positive plays. Some of those blocks were sprung by uh, Josh Hill, so I like him, man. He's doing his job. I mean, we have to understand that the tight end main objective is to work and run support. Like if I know that the game has kind of changed now, the tight end position has transitioned to more of a pass catcher, but man, the first job of a tight end is know how to block. I think we need another wide receiver. Gins not explosive no more. We need Cook back. Nah, bruh. Brandon Cook. I think he got a couple more years with the Rams, but I do think you do need another wide receiver that's gonna take the top off the defense. Not because Ted Ginn can't anymore. I just feel like I mean, how many more years he have? I think he's like 35, 36 years old. So how you think the Saints would handle signing Kamara and Lattimore with their contract expiring in the same year? They're gonna sign both of them, and they're gonna sign Ramchick. Yep, that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. I was talking about the draft. I thought we had three. Okay, I don't know. I don't know about that one. Somebody check that for me. I don't know if we got three first rounders. I know we got at least one. I know we didn't have one last year. The Saints better pick wisely with the first round. The Saints been doing a real good job in the draft. I think we all can agree with that. The Saints have been doing an outstanding job with the draft. Jeff Ireland, who's the head scout of the New Orleans Saints, character and some of the best playmakers they possibly can inside of the Saints facility. So I ain't got no problem with the front office when it comes to the draft picks. What do you think about the Rams after the game on Thursday? I think that if Greg the Leg Zerline didn't miss that field goal, I think we'll have a different perspective about the Rams. I just think that just sometimes how the ball bounces. You know, sometimes you make the field goal, sometimes you miss them. Sometimes, I mean, you think about this. Since we talking about this team and we're playing them tomorrow, think about the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I mean, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers kicked that field goal, beat the Giants. Nobody's talking about Daniel Jones. Talking about how he saved the New York Giants franchise, right? I mean, it was just a shank field goal. I mean, that's just the way it is sometimes. I mean, Greg Zerline missed the field goal. I don't take anything from it. I think that the Seattle Seahawks did an outstanding job. I think it was one of the best games I've seen all season. It's just the way it is. They just lost the game. Do I think that um, does that mean anything? Absolutely not. I think that the Rams are still a good football team, and I think they're going to be there in the playoff hunt at the end of the season. I mean, it's just one of those letdown games. So I think that they are going to be able to bounce back from it. I mean, on a 2-game losing streak, but I think they'll bounce back. Bridgewater can have a great game. I still don't think he is the future. Um, I agree right now. As of today, Marcus, I agree with you. I think we need to go get Joe Burrow. He'll be perfect with the Saints offense. Okay. I mean, I don't know that much about Joe Burrow. I've seen him play. I know he's playing a lot better than he did last season. Uh, Maybe he'll do a good job with the Saints. Uh, but like I said, if there's a better quarterback than him in the Saints, go get that quarterback. I'll be all for it. Okay. Uh, will we see more of Latavius Murray? I hope so. I'm 210 pounds. What position you think I'll play for the Saints? If you like 210 pounds, young Nola, I have to know how tall you is. If you're 210 pounds, you can play running back. You can be a receiver. You can be a corner. Well, I want to say you'll be a pretty big corner. Like a safety or something like that. You probably play like one of those positions. Um, let's see. We can get another running back. Uh, Man, we got to see what Murray got before I say we need another running back. Okay, I mean, Sean Payton has really not been using Latavius Murray. Uh, Neville, Mr. Jones, we need to put PJ at safety and let Garner play the slot. Look, I can't talk about PJ too much. I mean, PJ Williams, for the last couple of weeks, I have to say, man, he ain't been no liability. So I don't think he's been a liability since week one. So I mean, I can't pick on PJ too much, even though I think it's a miracle that he's still playing for the Saints. But I mean, against the Cowboys, I gotta say, man, PJ was balling out there. PJ was out there bringing that wood, man, like knocking dudes back. So probably one of the best games I've seen PJ Williams play. If you count that in that Minnesota Vikings game, so maybe PJ man just love prime time PJ. but what 11 1 o'clock TJ 1 o'clock PJ? Nah, bruh, that ain't it. Oh, you talking about for me? Yeah, yeah. I was talking about you, young Nolan. I was talking about the positions you'll play. Derek, thank you, man. I appreciate you, man. Man, thank you for tuning in, checking out the podcast. Do we resign Azaloni when the time comes? Yeah, I think you do. I know he has a history of being injured, but he's a really good linebacker. I wouldn't trade him. I wouldn't let him go. I mean, he'll be beneficial on somebody's team. You know, I mean, I would hate to see him go to the Patriots because he seemed like one of those Patriot type linebackers. So, I would love to see Azaloni continue his career with the Saints. Yeah, PJ been doing all right, man. AJ Klein began burnt like rubber out there. AJ Klein may get burnt by like rubber, but he did force that fumble on Jason Witten, so he making up for it. So that's how like I said, guys got heart. Like AJ Klein has heart. Yeah, he's not the linebacker he once was when he first signed with the Saints, but he never gives up on a play. Forced fumble on Jason Witten proved that. PJ Williams is actually a really good tackler. Yeah, he is, man. I mean, like I say, he's just I don't know. He just a liability in coverage, man. He's just a liability in coverage. When you play in a slot, like he can bully like the little small receivers and stuff like that. But if you put him on the outside, man, ooh, boy, it's gonna be rough. Burrow look like that because they just got one of Sean's disciples and the passing play style. Yeah, I mean, I don't know why he like that, but I will say this though. Coaches only can do so much. It's up to the talent too. So I mean, Burrow will have to have some level of talent for him to execute that. When Kiko gonna play, I want to see him with our defense. Kiko played Sunday. He played against the Cowboys. He was out there. He made a couple tackles. So I mean, I'm pretty sure like he's gonna play a lot more, as the weeks go by. But he was out there. Azalone won't get much money because he can't stay healthy. Yeah, he was like that in college. Yeah, that's true. When he was at Florida, he always was injured, but he's a good linebacker. He reminds me of Sean Lee. Unfortunately, Sean Lee, a really good linebacker, but always was hurt. Chemo Slice, burnt like a biscuit. Yeah, man. PJ does get burned like a biscuit, but nevertheless, you put him in a slot, he does a really good job. I really want Diggs with a trade. That would be fire. Yeah, me too. Uh, yeah, I would love to see Diggs down here. I know a lot of Saints fans don't really like Diggs because of the Minnesota Miracle, but man, that was water under a bridge. This guy could come in and make some plays for the team because I really think he'll be beneficial. PJ does love prime time. Last year, pick six Sunday night football against the Vikings. Yep, he plays his best games at prime time, man. Prime time PJ. The most important position for us next year is a quarterback and receiver. We gonna get another cornerback this Apple last year. Yep. Yeah, I think this Apple last year. I think we need a cornerback. Quarterback should be a top priority in my opinion. Then wide receiver, then corner. My question is, how do you think Davenport doing so far? I think Davenport doing a really good job. The last two games that Davenport played, really been good, man. I know he hasn't really been getting sacks and stuff like that, but once again, all stats don't have to include sacks in order for you to be a disruption, and he's been disrupting, man. I mean, going up against Tyron Smith, against him, one of the best left tackles in football, man. He got a lot of pressure on Dak Prescott. I mean, he forced Dak Prescott to step up in the pocket and deliver some throws when Dak didn't want to at that time. So he's doing a good job. Is T Rex playing tomorrow? I'm not sure. I'm not sure. You know how the Saints are, man. They don't want to tell anybody about injuries or anything like that. Mr. Jones, who do you think in the secondary going to let go when we got to keep Von Bell? Who we gonna let go? That's gonna be tough, man. Everybody in the line, me personally, Von Bell gonna stay. Eli Apple gonna go. You want to sign Marcus Williams and Marshawn Lattimore back. PJ, bye bye. You still got Chauncey Gardner-Johnson. That's the reason why I feel like they ended up getting Chauncey Gardner-Johnson because P.J. Williams is gonna be his last year. Um, like my grandfather said, he hell when he well, but he's sick all the time. Yeah, that's true, man. Azalone, man, he really does a good job, but like I say, he can't stay on the field. Saints defensive line might be the most underrated line in the league. They have talent all across the board. Yeah, 4 first rounders. That's what you got on the line. You got 4 first rounders out there, man. Like man, I guess you look at Malcolm Brown, first rounder. Sheldon Rankins, first rounder. Cam Jordan, first rounder. Marcus Davenport, first rounder. So you got a bunch of first rounders. So if you hitting in the draft, yeah, you should have some guys that can create hell. So what do you think about Teddy Bridgewater? I think he's stepping up to the plate pretty well. I'm ready to see y'all Brees come back. I think Teddy Bridgewater is doing what a backup quarterback is supposed to do. Drive the bus, don't let it crash. I think he's doing a good job. Like I said, that 15 play, 9 minute drive that he sustained last a week against the Dallas Cowboys, that was something very, very special. And I can't tell you how beneficial that was for Saints because Cowboys, a team that was had an offense that was flying high coming into the Superdome. I bet you they re-signed Apple. I don't know about that one, Calvin, but I mean, I wouldn't bet you on that though. I mean, you never know with the New Orleans Saints. Much respect for the podcast. I love it. Chemo, thank you very much. Um, I really don't want Apple to be honest. Eli Apple been playing really well. So, I mean, you got to think about this. Since that big play, with Fuller had that big play on him, you haven't seen nothing else from Eli Apple. Eli Apple been doing a pretty good job, all things considered. Murray needs to play more to keep Kamara healthy. I do agree with that. I think sometimes Sean Payton just gets too excited with the usage of Alvin Kamara, which I understand because the dude a beast. But you do want to kind of, sprinkle a little bit of Murray up in there too. Bears defense going to be a challenge. Yeah, it is. I mean, the Bears are a really good defense. I mean, they living up to their moniker, the monsters of the Midway. I mean, you got Roquan Smith. I mean, you got Khalil Mack. You got Keem Hicks. I mean, you got Fast Eddie Jackson out there in the secondary. I mean, you got some guys that are really good, and the Saints are going to have some problems. No doubt about that. Davenport tied for third in NFL with quarterback hits, and the only bad game he had was Week 1. He didn't show up on the stat sheet, but he opened up lanes for everybody else, and one of the best so far in pressure. And not to mention, he's controlling the edge, man. You like stopping the run and stuff like that. I mean, I can't tell you how important that is for you to have a guy that can set the edge. You know what I'm saying? A guy that can go out there and make sure that can run side, from and protect his side. If a guy does a half pack toss to his side to the left, he's out there, making tackles. So he's doing a good job, man. And I can tell you something that a lot of people don't know. In his first 2 seasons, he had more sacks than Cam Jordan had in his first 2 seasons. I want people to think about that too. If it was possible for us to go get another wide receiver to team up with Thomas, who would you go and get? I get somebody like Judy, from Alabama or something like that. I get a guy like that. If I wanted to go get somebody that's in the NFL, right now I just say Stephon Diggs, man. I mean, if you can get Stephon Diggs, why not? Or if not, I have to see who's a free agent. I'll answer that question better for you, Brandon. I see who is a free agent coming into next year, and I'll let you know. Um, I bet you we sign a cornerback this year coming. I wouldn't mind. I think somebody said something about Patrick Peterson, man. That was a good question. I wouldn't be surprised if the Saints call up Arizona, man, because like I said, it was the owner who didn't want Patrick Peterson to leave, and now that owner passed away. Who knows, man? This is a new football team with Cliff Kingsbury as the head coach. I would go get Hopkins, man. Hopkins is not going nowhere. That's good wishful thinking right there, young Nola, but he ain't going nowhere. They'll get rid of that whole squad before they let Hopkins go. One game at a time. Bears aren't this week. If Drew comes back to ball and ball out, do you think he will want to come back? May hurt the salary cap. I think that this may be Drew Brees' last season, win, lose, or draw. I also feel like this might, if the Saints win the Super Bowl, it's definitely gonna be his last season. I think that's pretty evident, man. I think that's the reason why Teddy Bridgewater ended up re-signing with the Saints. They'll never say that, but that's just my opinion. Apple has been okay, but what is it that 15 million next? He ain't doing that good, at least this far. He and PJ out next year. Yeah, man, Eli probably gonna be gone. I don't think they're gonna get. I don't think they're gonna keep him. Telling you they keep me Eli Apple. We never know. Never know. To be honest, I want Antonio Brown. If his case go good, Brown and Thomas. Nah, I'm good on it. I'm good on that, James. You can have AB, man. I don't need him. I don't want him. I'm all about character in the locker room. I like camaraderie. I like chemistry. I don't like toxic energy, and that's exactly what that guy has. Brees gonna coach the Saints after. He gonna coach his son's football team or his high school football team. That's what I feel. Ryan Ramczyk balling. Yeah, one of the best right tackles in the NFL, in my opinion. But I want to say thank you all for your questions and your comments and your suggestions. Feel free to always email me at stateofthesaints@gmail.com. You can also go to facebook.com, search the State of the Saints podcast, and inbox me there. Thank you all for tuning in. I think we're all looking forward to the big game, Week 5 matchup, Tampa Bay Buccaneers versus New Orleans Saints. Whoever wins this game will be atop the NFC South. A lot of Tampa Bay Buccaneers fans are excited about that, but I know the Who Dat Nation are ready to cheer on the home team. They're excited about that, no doubt, and we looking forward to a good game. And of course, I will be live immediately following the game. Okay, I will send a post out letting you all know when I'm going to go live. Of course, I try to wait till after Sean Payton's press conference after the game before I go live. So we will be breaking down the New Orleans Saints Tampa Bay Buccaneers football game. So thank you all for checking out the State of the Saints podcast. Please subscribe to the YouTube channel if you have not already. Thank you very much for those that have. Thank you for the regulars that I see in the chat. And we're going to continue to give you the best podcast we possibly can. So until next time, all I have to say is